Hello, I'm Spencer Nafekh, a journalist and writer with Asian Movie Pulse. I'll be hosting the Q&A today with director Huang Ming Chuan of The Man from Island West. I'm also here with our interpreter, Albert Pai. Director Huang Ming Chuan graduated from law school in Taiwan, then went to the US to learn arts and photography in the late 70s. Returning to Taiwan in 1988, he started his career as a filmmaker in the early 90s.
大家好，我是 Spencer， 我是亚洲电影脉动的专栏作家。我今天是主持跟黄明川导演的一个 Q&A 的部分，讨论的是从西部来的人。那另外是口译者 Albert Pai 也在现场。黄明川导演在台湾毕业于法律系，后来在70年代的时候前往美国学习美术和摄影。1988年他回到台湾，接着在1990年代他开始他的电影创作生涯。
Thank you so much for joining us today, Director Huang. Please say hello to your audience in Edinburgh.
导演您好，很高兴您能够拨空参加我们的访谈。请跟爱丁堡的观众打声招呼。
现场的观众大家好，还有Spencer 先生 Albert Pai，很高兴我这部《西部来的人》终于能够在英国放映，不过已经是33年前的事了。
Hello everyone, all the audience at Edinburgh, and Spencer as well as Albert Pai. My film, The Man from Island West, already broadcast in the UK, but that was 3 years ago.
Let's start a bit about yourself. So, looking back on your past, you graduated from law school initially, and then jumped into being a photographer. So, I guess as a first question, I'm curious, what prompted you to want to direct movies in the first place? Were you inspired by some of your predecessors in the Taiwanese film industry, such as Xiao Zhenhou and Edward Yang?
首先我想要先了解一下这个导演个人方面的问题。您过去在台湾从法学院毕业，然后后来成为这个摄影师是什么样的动机让您开始想要做电影创作？这过程中是否有受到台湾影坛前辈如侯孝贤以及杨德昌的影响？
我原先去纽约是想当画家，后来爱上电影，虽然我是在纽约开这个平面摄影的专业摄影棚，有自己美国的客户，也做得还顺利。可是我解严后回台湾之后，我就有很强的拍片的期待。第一部电影《西部来的人》是有一点点受到早期的欧洲跟日本电影的影响，但是与台湾的其他导演是没有关系的啊。我独立制片那个时候就是想要跟台湾的所有，不管是商业的或者是艺术性的电影，很明显的做一个区隔啊，不管是拍片的方法，连寻找故事啊，都不是当时的流行或者是习惯。
Okay. I went to New York. Originally, I want to be a painter, but gradually I start to fall in love with movie creation. Although when I was in New York, I have my own studio as a photographer, but since I came back to Taiwan when the martial law was lifted, I start to have a high expectation about movie creation. When I created my first film, The Man from the Island West, I was trying to import the trend of the West Europe and Japan. So when I start my independent filmmaking, I intended to make a distinction between my movie creation from other commercial films and art films. So my story and my photographic methods are all different from those at the time.
Wow, that's really interesting, and I can definitely see that in The Man from Island West. Now, yeah, let's return to the film. So after viewing The Man from Island West, personally, it felt like a really deeply personal portrait of the lives of young Taiwanese men. So with that in mind, I was curious, were some of the details from the story autobiographical? How do the events in The Man from Island West reflect aspects of your own life growing up in Taiwan?
非常有趣。我显然可以从这个希伯来的人当中看到导演所说的这些内容。那回到这个电影上面来看，希伯来的人这部影片，对我来说是对于年轻台湾男性生活的一个深刻的描写。这似乎是从一个有一点自传味道的这样子的内容视角出发。请问，在希伯来的人这部影片当中的这些事件，是否反映出您的成长历程，或是这个关于这个台湾人的成长历程？谢谢。
谢谢非常感谢这个问题，这个很关键。这部片子也在当时也有这样的提问但是这片子跟我是没有关系的，它的故事这不是一个有关于我自己的传记的描写，它谈论的是台湾的80年代的工业化，还有国际代工兴起之后呢，乡村跟原住民部落的人口就流往城市有一种前所未见的岛内的人口大移动的现象。那么我在旁白里面也提到我们台湾人所不知道的这个人口移动这个人口移动可以说是非常远古或者是原住民的神话，但是它是现在住在台湾人共通的过去的历史，只是很多人不清楚而已。不过我们简单的看，台湾事实上是一个移民国家有好几波的移民潮。现在多数的主流人口基本上是16世纪末，陆陆续续他们的祖先来到这个岛屿的后代所以希伯来人里面的旁白有提到，跟圣经所描写的大洪水是非常相近的一个现象，就是连续下雨40天，然后海水大涨，很多人都避难到别的地方所以从旁白到真实现象的那个时候的台湾的工业化、人口移动，这个片子不是在讲我自己。我不晓得为什么，可能是当初的国民教育使然只要就是政府不让人家去碰触这个人口移动这件事情因为二战之后有好几百万人来到台湾那再从另外一个例子来看，确实也有欧洲的影评人说我是不是在讲我自己，原因就是那个主角的名字是阿明 M-I-N-G 他猜测跟我的明串的明 M-I-N-G 是同一个名字，可是如果你懂中文的话这个明有好多种都叫明，不同字不同意思那当初这个阿明在部落里面他们取华语的中文名字，这个很流行，因为这个字是太普通的一个字所以从这样的一个迹象回复 Spencer 的问题我想这样可以更被了解。
All right. Thank you very much for the this question. Actually, the creation of this film is not about myself. It's not autobiographical. It actually reflects the situation of the indigenous peoples in Taiwan in 1980s. At that time, many indigenous people moved into cities and changed the landscape of the tribe. Actually, in the bigger context, in Taiwan, there has been several times of population migration. It's unknown to many people, but since time immemorial, population migration has happened many times in human history. It's just we don't know about it. So in human history, the human migration has happened many times since especially since the 16th century in Taiwan. Population migration has happened a lot of times, and this corresponds to the mythology of the indigenous people. It's actually in the narration of the film. In the narration, the story about the floods in ancient time is mentioned. The floods overflow to the land, and many people escape from the disaster. So, in the context of 1980s, probably because of national education influence, the government didn't want people to talk too much about population migration, because after World War II, millions of people moved from Chinese mainland to Taiwan. So I also noticed that some European film critics said that this film was autobiographical because the main role, Ming, has the same character, Ming, in my name. But if you are familiar with Chinese language, you would know that Ming is a very commonly used character in Chinese names. And when Aboriginal people start to adopt Chinese characters in the names, Ming is also widely used. So essentially, this film is not biographical.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for the clarification. And with that in mind, it really did have a very genuine feel, reflecting the lifestyles of Aboriginal Taiwanese peoples. So yeah, speaking a little bit about the symbolism of the Man from Island West, specifically, I was curious if there was a more symbolic meaning to the movie itself, or some overarching symbolism that you wanted to really encapsulate. So aside from the floods that you mentioned, I was wondering if there's anything else. For example, Ming, the protagonist, his journey of trying and failing to commit suicide at the very beginning of the movie, and everything that followed afterwards. Is there anything specifically that you want to convey to the audience through these plot lines, or would you prefer leaving it to the audience to interpret and explain it for themselves?
谢谢导演刚才的澄清。好，那确实让我们对于这个台湾原住民当时的处境有更深一步的了解。那接下来的问题是关于这部电影是否有任何的象征？譬如说大洪水是否有任何的象征？比如说在电影的一开头，阿明他就自杀，而且不断的自杀，而且失败等等。您是否想从这些事件当中传达出什么吗？或者是说您希望由这个观众自己去诠释？
好，感谢 Spencer。如果说象征的话呢，那是很广泛的啊。我所提出来的这个南岛语族神话，就是 Austronesian，的神话呢，大概是在台湾除了非常少数的专家之外，是没有人听过的。最主要的理由就是我大学时代，我的学校有很少 很少有的考古系啊，台大有这个考古系，那我有机会去接触他们的书，然后了解台湾的故事，台湾的历史不是很多政治人物所讲的那么短，非常非常的久远啊，只是我们不愿意让他们不愿意让一般人知道，所以一个很有趣的现象哈，我这个影片后来 DVD 出来之后，英国的影评人他帮我翻译这一部影片的英文字幕，他看了 DVD 来台湾跟我讲说，你那个旁白里面的雅味是不是在暗示圣经当中的那个雅味？我就跟他说，这个需要你这样的一位欧洲人花了12年，DVD 后来出来就是12年后，才看得出来嘛。所以您说象征的话，其实我是有埋伏不少东西在背后，因为旁白里面所叙事的大洪水，应该是跟圣经里面所叙事的大洪水是同一个时间啊，所以我是要能够让观众理解台湾的故事的深远非常久远的一个岛屿啊。那至于自杀，它是一个了断。那自杀没有成功，阿明进入一个全新的境界这个是我故意埋伏的另外一个大的情境就是说人如果没办法完全了断的话，他事实上一回头，他不会跟原来一模一样。也就是说，台湾如果遭遇到更大的事故、更大的冲击性的事故之后它会转型成另外一个你没办法想象的一个国度。不过有趣的是，当时我是让观众去完全开放的去诠释了，我也不想多说哈。我刚才讲的这个，我从来以前都没有再讲过。光是看影片，在30年前观众就不晓得这个影片的语言来自何处，因为他们跟山上的原住民泰雅语是没有接触的，所以影片看完之后，真的是不少朋友走过来说，这个很像外国电影，因为他们只熟悉台湾的商业电影跟新浪潮。也有说，这个黄导这个看起来太像菲律宾电影因为里面的人的样子不太像这个一般都市里面看到的人以上。
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the question about the symbol. Okay. So in terms of symbolism, I would say this film has included a lot of symbols. When it comes to the floods in the Atayo mythology, actually, the Austronesian myth is unknown to so many people except for some experts. Because I used to learn about archaeology, so I am familiar with such a topic. But probably because politicians don't want people to dig too deep into the history, so the scope of the history that people know about Taiwan is quite short. In the narration, I talk about Ah Wei saved all other people during the floods period. After 12 years, a film critic, a foreign film critic, talk about this and asked me, is this Ah Wei the same as the similar character in the Bible mythology? So it took about 12 years for people to understand and understand what I intend to deliver in the film. What I want to say is that Taiwan has the same history with the world and the floods in Taiwan, Taiwanese indigenous mythology, and the floods in the Bible is at the same period. So this island is so ancient. It has a very ancient history. In terms of the continuous failed suicides in the film of Huang Ming, I think we have to understand that after Huang Ming failed in several times of suicides, he entered a different status. We have to know that when you want to cut off yourself from the past, even if you failed, your life won't be the same anymore. So I usually keep this interpretation to the audience. I've never talked about this before. So this is the first time I talk about this topic. When this film is released, people saw this film and feel that the film is like a foreign film. It's because most of the time the Taiwanese filmmakers were familiar with the commercial films and new trend films. They have never seen film like this before, and some even commented that this film is like a Filipino film. So this is what I want to say. Thank you.
Interesting, yeah. And I guess that just comes to show how much the film is set apart from other films in the New Wave movement in Taiwan. So I definitely see that. So a last question about the movie that I have is about the distinction in The Man from Island West of setting. So on multiple occasions throughout the movie, characters are very quick to point out the distinction between what they perceive as their immediate surroundings and Taipei, often saying, "This is not Taipei." So, in your opinion, why was this a repetitive theme, a repetitive quote, and why was this such an important distinction to make?
导演，我们下一个问题是，在《希伯来的人》这部片中，您在许多桥段不断强调这个台北以及部落的差异，在不同角色的多次对话当中，他们都会说这里不是台北。那为什么这样子的对比和区分是重要的？那有没有什么特殊的用意？
那个时代的原住民完全不受重视，不像现在有一个原住民委员会，还有原住民的电视台啊。那这部影片出现比赛德克巴莱早了20年，比台湾的原住民电视台早了13年。所以你可以想见，那个时候大家对原住民的概念是非常的薄弱，所以我想把这个区隔用这里不是台北，然后正因为不是台北，所以那个时候的现象是很多人都想去台北，所以我用阿酱这个主角，阿酱这个主角一心一意要去，那女主角也是去了以后回来跟阿酱说，我已经不是这里的人了。这个相对性很关键，一个要去不了，一个去了之后回来跟大家讲我不是属于这里的，所以台北是一个关键词。这个就是我当初一直使用台北这个字的一个很重要的地方啊。如何定位这一个影片啊？Spencer 在原来的问题里面有提到这个定位啊。也就是经过30年了，大家对于平权、族群平等，这个问题已经强很多，而且跟以前非常的不同了。所以也因为这样子，当初我这个影片出来，至少有2位以上的影评人非常的反对，很不喜欢这部片子。那现在 反而成为很多人研究的对象。就是说，反对希伯来人这部影片的声音已经完全消失了，也就是因为台湾的社会逐渐平权、族群平等的声浪很高的关系。我很高兴当初我是自己独立拍的啊，如果不是独立拍的话，我还是会在这个汉文化的传统三合院啊这种巷子里面去拍片，像别人一样啊。那我也跟大家一直在讲一件事情，不管什么时代，你要拍电影，你要有独立的人格，自己要有很独立的精神啊，才会有自己的世界啊。以上。
Yeah. So the type of making this film is at the time of that the original Aboriginal people has very low status in Taiwan society. Now we have currently we have Aboriginal committee in our government. We have Aboriginal TV station, but the making of this film is long before the foundation of the Aboriginal film. It's it was made 13 years before the Aboriginal film station, and it is earlier than the Warrior of Rainbow, Sadek Balai, by 11 years. The contrast I intended to make in this film is between Ajahn and his girlfriend. Okay, Ajahn continuously said that he wants to go to Taipei, want to live there, work there, and his girlfriend came back to Taipei to the tribe, but she always said that I don't belong to the tribe. So in here, Taipei has become a key word. That's why Taipei has been repeated many times in the dialogue between the characters. So about the positioning of this film, I would say when the film was first released, two cinema critics was very much against this film, maybe because they are not familiar with it. But now, there has no such a criticism about this film, probably because the movement of equal rights of Aboriginal people has been very vocal right now. I feel I was happy that when I start to make my films, I didn't make in the atmosphere of the Han Chinese culture, like in the ancient traditional Han Chinese architecture. I create my film independently, and I wholeheartedly believe that only when you have your own independent character can you make a film of your own style.
Wow, very interesting. And I think that as a director, it must be very cool to see the shift in the cultural and public perception of the film over time, from, being criticized to maybe being a bit more accepting, because social justice has made a long leap documenting these perspectives. So that's really interesting. So as a final question, and as the program is part of the actor Chen Yi-wen retrospective, I was curious if you would like to share with us your experience with him, or if there's anything else you would like to talk about. Please let me know.
非常感谢导演哈，您刚刚的这个回答相当的有趣。一部电影能够记录一个社会的文化改变以及社会正义的实现，那一定是相当有意思的事情。那 接下来的问题是想要请问您哈，就是这部电影呢是以演员陈以文的作品集锦之一呈现啊。那不晓得您是否可以分享一下您和陈以文这位演员合作的经验？是否有任何的经验跟大家分享？
好，感谢 Spencer 的这个最后，也可能是这个影展这个系列的关键的提问啊。陈以文是杨德昌的导演的副导啊，所以他看过很多现场演员演戏啊。虽然他自己没有演过戏，可是我跟他接触，虽然是很短暂，可是我觉得他有可能。第二呢，他虽然是广东的第一代的后裔啊，就是住在台湾出生长大的，广东的第二代呢，但是他的脸型，是非常适合啊。我是觉得把他丢到部落啊，这个部落的人可能还会，会怀疑他到底是不是汉人，或者是他是原住民，因为我们第一个礼拜我请他哈穿着那个吊嘎啊，就是当地人习惯穿的衣服短裤，然后在部落里面骑摩托车，晒得黑黑的这样溜来溜去啊。那我注意到2个当地的女孩子问他说：“你是哪一族的？”啊，所以他已经成功了啊，虽然不见得是可以变成部落里面的人，但是部落里面的人认为他是原住民。那再来就是陈以文演得很好，很入戏，蛮能够演出不是他的念大学的这样的一个身份呢，是一个像做工的哈，像一个低层的人，而且声调啊，学原住民的声音都学得还蛮像。这个是很令我惊讶，因为我很喜欢素人演员，他居然第一部就演得这么好，非常有才分，难怪后来会非常的红啊，也其他的戏都演得非常好。
Thank you for the question. The question about the actor Chen Yiwen is very critical here. Initially, I knew him from the time when he was the vice director of the filmmaker Edward Young. Actually, he was the first generation of the immigrants from mainland China, from the Guangdong province. So his face, to some extent, is not like a traditional Han Chinese. It's somewhere between Han Chinese and Aboriginal. I still remember that when I brought him to the tribe for the first time, one of the Aboriginal women kept asking him, which tribe do you belong to? So also, according to my experience of working with him, I found that he can immerse himself into the plots quite easily. The way he performed is not like is not like other actors who have undergraduate degrees. He can hide that very well, and he the way he imitates the sound, the voice of Aboriginal people was quite good. So I like working. I like working with amateur actors, and the first time of working with him, I can see his talent. So there's no wonder that he has performed so well in other films too.
Wonderful. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Anyways, I just wanted to thank you so much for your time, Director Huang. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for joining us.
非常感谢这个黄明川导演今天接受我们的接受我们的访问。我们祝您有一个美好的一天，感谢，谢谢。
非常感谢 Spencer Albert 还有关平，让我有机会跟大家一起聊一聊过去的这部影片这是我的荣幸，也谢谢大家。
Thank you very much, Spencer, Guanping, and Albert. It's my pleasure here during the interview. Thank you.